All right. Good evening. The time is now 6:02 p.m. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Stephanie Dalton.
Here.
Vice Mayor Holly Berry.
Here.
Commissioner Jamie Fairbanks Harvey.
Here.
Commissioner Terry Holmes.
Here.
Commissioner Hayes Wilkinson.
Here.
Thank you. And for today's invocation, please join me in a moment of silence to reverently collect our thoughts, pray, and ready ourselves for this meeting and the duties to which we have been called. Okay, thank you. And now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Branham, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. First, we have my mayor's report. Welcome, everyone. We are very sad to see the Meeting House close at the end of this month. They have been such a blessing to our community for over a decade and will be missed dearly. Personally, I have been patronizing them, their business since 2015 and have loved watching their journey over these past several years. Since none of us commissioners have actual city offices, the Meeting House has acted as my community office for years now. Countless connections and wonderful memories have been made there. Their last day of business will be on May 31st. So if anyone wants to meet me there for one last coffee, please let me know. Hopefully, I'm hoping that the landlord will consider bringing in another business that can afford the rent and will add value to our community. We need spaces our friends and neighbors can patronize and enjoy in the most walkable part of our city. So I look forward to seeing what this next chapter could hold. And in case you missed it, our new children's rock climbing wall is installed and open for use at the White Oak Park. Many thanks to Hamilton County Parks and Rec for this generous donation. From our schools, congratulations to our Red Bank Elementary Lions on their recent first-time participation in the Chat State Science Olympiad, where they were awarded medals in 9 different events. Way to go. Huge congratulations to Red Bank Middle School on recently earning STEAM designation from the Tennessee Department of Education and the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network. I'm sure you were a part of making that happen over your time there, Dr. Holmes. This recognition highlights their commitment to integrating science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics into daily learning to help students become critical thinkers, creative problem solvers, and future-ready leaders. Way to go, Red Bank Middle School Lions. And finally, congratulations to the Red Bank High School graduating class of 2025. Commissioner Holmes and I were so pleased to attend the ceremony last week and be able to congratulate our incredible students in person. They achieved a 93% plus graduation rate and were awarded over $1.8 million in scholarships. We cannot wait to see all the amazing things you are going to do. And next we have Vice Mayor Berry's report.
Thank you, everyone. Everyone, please stay safe this evening in light of the active tornado watch. We've been experiencing increasing severe weather in the southeast this year. We do not have tornado sirens in Hamilton County, but you can sign up for text-based weather alerts through Hamilton County Office of Emergency Management, which I highly recommend you do. Also recommended is purchasing a weather radio for your home. Just next door to this building at Fire Station number 1, as well as Fire Station number 2 here in Red Bank, are brand new pet resource centers. Each is equipped with a microchip scanner to help residents quickly identify lost pets and reunite them with their owners. Also, they contain a pet food pantry, so anyone who is having difficulty affording the food necessary for their furry members of their family are welcome to come and use that resource. Also, you can contribute pet food to that. So if you want to buy a little extra, or especially if you find that you buy a pet food that your pet is not keen on the taste, it's a great opportunity to pass that forward and give somebody the opportunity to keep their pet in their home that they may have difficulty caring for otherwise. This Thursday, May 22nd, there will be a blood drive in partnership with Blood Assurance from 12 to 3 p.m. at Red Bank City Hall. Remember, one donation can save 3 lives. If you plan to donate, remember to eat a good meal, stay hydrated, avoid energy drinks, and bring your ID with you. This Friday, May 23rd, is our next Food Truck Friday from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Enjoy live music from Jess Goggins and food and beverage from Clever Ale House, Culturelicious, Food Vibes, The Bistro, Chubby Vegan, Preacher's Barbecue, and Windy City Eats. I also wanted to take an opportunity to brag on our wonderful city. It was an average day today. My toddler and I experienced a remarkable day as citizens of Red Bank. He's not quite 2 years old and quite interested in large equipment of all kinds right now, from excavators to fire trucks to garbage trucks. And today we visited the bicycle traffic garden next to fire station number 2. While there, he spotted our rescue truck out front of the fire station and wanted a closer look. While we were there, some of our firefighters invited us inside to see some of the fire trucks and relatively new ATV and Monster Fan inside the bay. All very popular attractions for a toddler, I assure you. After we left, we dropped off some recycling at the Red Bank Recycle Center. Then on our way home, we encountered a bulk trash pickup in progress. And we stopped for a while to watch the claw in action. And finally, when we arrived back home, the garbage truck was just arriving to empty our trash cans. So a banner day for an almost 2-year-old. And earlier this week, we even saw the backhoe working on the dog park at White Oak Park. So I just wanted to brag on our city, our employees. This may have been an average day in our city operations, but my son was in awe, and it's beautiful to experience firsthand our city services in action and our capital equipment and the hardworking city employees who operate that equipment and keep our city running so smoothly day after day. And finally, the next Red Bank Food Pantry is not until Thursday, June 5th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at Red Bank United Methodist. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And now we have Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey's report.
Thank you. In recognition of the National Police Week last week and this week Public Works Week, I thank our public employees in these 2 honored departments. Your tremendous contributions strengthen our city and have grown as our city has grown. You make us proud, as it has been historically a constant force on our roads, neighborhoods, and residents that are safer. And I second what Vice Mayor Berry has been saying. And I noticed that there was one of their rescue vehicles, and I thought someone was in distress, but the gentleman got out and weed-eated around a fire. Thank you, fire hydrant. And I thought, okay, that makes me feel better. But that was an interesting job. I and several staff met this morning at the 46th annual Chattanooga Area Leadership Breakfast, prayer breakfast at the Chattanooga Convention Center. Thank you for allowing me to attend with colleagues and to hear Mr. Darrell Strawberry's expounding on his path to healing and ministry. We were challenged to be better people for the greater Chattanooga area and specifically Red Bank. And to piggyback on Vice Mayor Berry's statement about blood assurance, yes, from 12 to 3. I have signed up at 12:15. I will be having eaten a snack and drinking plenty of water to get ready. They take your blood pressure, your temperature, body temperature, and your iron level to be assessed to determine whether you can. And your weight, frankly, I'd have no problem with that, but they will ask you if you are close about your weight. Not only are you providing this liquid life to another human, but you're also creating new blood cells for your own body. So whether this is your first time or your 75th, come help someone live longer. Sabor is the Costa Rican restaurant at the intersection of Dayton Boulevard and Signal Mountain Boulevard. I met there last night for Listen and Learn, and it was really thin customer number. So I said, I'll say something about you specifically, but they're open from noon to 9 every day. And I urge you to go eat lunch or dinner there sometime soon. So their doors can remain open. Active older adults, AOA remains a vital gathering for classes at the community center. Monday and Wednesdays are the guided exercise, and bingo is this Thursday at noon. You can see the full schedule at the Parks and Recreation Department on our website. And lastly, the next Listen and Learn will be June 16th at Sabor from 6 to 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have our report from Commissioner Holmes.
Good evening. So my report isn't formally written. I just got some notes here. But please attend local businesses around town. So I've counted the eateries, and there are quite a few eateries. So if you stop in to support local businesses. Also with the STEM designation, so Red Bank Elementary is STEM designated. Red Bank High is STEM designated. Now Red Bank Middle is STEM designated. So it gives a pipeline of students that can go through those 3 schools. And that might attract residents because that is a prestigious award. And I happened to be in Nashville when Red Bank Middle was awarded their STEM school banner and certificate and whatnot. Also have a safe summer. I know we have in Hamilton County a day and a half, and then teachers get out Friday. So try to stay safe, stay cool, and just have fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And lastly, we have our report from Commissioner Wilkinson.
Yes. Okay. I don't have much to say, but I just want to give Public Works a thank you for how prompt their bulk trash pickup service is. I like to think we don't get special service up here on the bench, but maybe we do. You'll have to confirm. He's saying no. But yeah, it's very easy to put in a work order on our city's website. You can go to the Public Works Department, and then there is a link for garbage and trash pickup. So bulky items, brush, whatever, they'll be by in about a day. And it's very easy and quick. And then the pool is opening soon. So next weekend, right? The Memorial
This
Day.
Saturday,
Memorial Day.
It's Monday.
Memorial Day weekend.
which is this weekend.
Yeah, it is this
That
weekend.
is this weekend. Holy smokes.
Yeah, that's right.
It's been a month. Yeah, so my family's very excited about the pool, and we hope to see you guys there this summer.
Excellent.
Yes, that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you very much. Next, we have the city manager's report. Mr. Granum.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Very succinctly, a reminder that city offices will be closed on Monday, 26 May, in observance of the Memorial Day holiday. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, that's very, very short. Thank you. We will move on to our consent agenda, which contains consideration of the minutes for approval from our May 6th work session and regular commission meeting, and our beer board meeting, as well as our appointment to the planning commission, resolution to apply for a Tennessee Arts Commission grant, issuance of the $100,000 capital outlay note, and resolution to adopt our updated comprehensive travel policy. Are there any items that the board wants removed to the regular agenda for further discussion? If not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
I'll move.
Motion from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Vice Mayor Barry. Any discussion? Would you like to make any further comments about Mr. Pierce?
I would, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So my appointee to the Planning Commission, Mr. Blake Pierce, we're lucky to have him here in Red Bank. He's a longtime resident, and he is the founder and president of the White Oak Bicycle Co-op. He's a professor of exercise science and public health at UTC. Prior to UTC, he worked at Erlanger as a exercise physiotherapist specializing in childhood obesity. His background gives him a very clear vision of how he wants to help us implement our comprehensive plan, and he is deeply invested in Red Bank, so we are fortunate to have him on our planning commission. So thank you, Blake. We appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing what you can do for us.
Absolutely. Thank you for volunteering yet again in our community. Any comments by the residents present? Okay, There are no more comments. Let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to unfinished business. Item A, ordinance number 25-1279, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee to amend the Red Bank Municipal Code, Title 5, Chapter 1, by adding subsection 5-105 in order to establish a comprehensive framework for setting and modifying assessments, fees, fines, charges, penalties, and rates for the City of Red Bank. Second and final reading. Director Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I think you said it all in that action. This is here before you for a second and final reading. Last meeting, we did have an in-depth conversation how we got to this point. Historically, fines, fees, penalties, charges have happened by division or by department, which is not uncommon. However, to be more transparent and to have a comprehensive framework of how do we gather that information, how do we share that information. So this first step in establishing the ordinance creates that section in the municipal code that gives staff the direction on how to proceed and move forward with compiling and more importantly, making changes as options come up and the desires are met. So this is on second and final reading for you tonight. Later on in the agenda is a resolution that will actually lay out that fee schedule. So again, this is here for second and final reading on the ordinance establishing the framework.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Motion from Commissioner Holmes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wilkins. Any further, Wilkinson, I'm sorry. Any further discussion?
So we can ask questions in D, in the
Mhm.
next.
About the
section.
actual fee schedule itself? Yes.
I've got some curious questions.
Okay. Get ready. Okay, if there's no questions or any more discussion, any comments from the residents present? Okay, if there are no comments, Ms. Perry, can you please call the vote?
Mayor Dalton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barry,
Yes.
Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Yes.
All right, motion carries on second and final reading. Thank you very much. Moving on to item B, ordinance number 25-1280, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee to abandon the unopened right-of-way of Old Morrison Springs Road from the eastern right-of-way line of Tom Weathers Drive to the western right-of-way line of Highway 27, subject to reservation of the continuing right of the city to utilize same for stormwater management purposes. Second and final reading. Director Johnson.
Again, it's here for second and final reading.
Yeah.
Last meeting, we did have a first reading and a public hearing.
Mhm.
As is protocol established by ordinance number 21-1188. This request was formalized through the Planning Commission, who did provide a recommendation in support of this request. We are unique in this situation. We have one property owner who has the single interest in all adjoining. Originally, there was 4 parcels that impacted this unopened right-of-way. That applicant has since acquired ownership of all 4 parcels. He does have a plan for development. As we like to recognize it, that's one of our gateways into the community. So being mindful and working with the property owner who has similar visions and desires for Red Bank, that's what's happening in this package. Mr. John Cofield is here this evening if you have any additional questions. But as we walked through our public hearing, our notification, and through the Planning Commission, we've not had any inquiries. Those that have been present have been supportive of the request. So it's checking all of these boxes that you identified on how to relinquish city-owned property.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Motion from Vice Mayor Barry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any further discussion? Or any questions of Mr. Cofield? Okay. Any comments from the residents present? If there are no comments, Ms. Perry, can you please call the vote?
Mayor Dalton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barry,
Yes.
Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Yes.
Motion carries on second and final reading. So hopefully that helps you move forward with your next steps. And that we'll be hearing from you very soon. Thank you for being here, both of you. All right, moving on to new business, public hearing and ordinance number 25-1281, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30, 2026. First reading. Mr. Granum, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, and I commend anybody to the work session presentation, which went into great detail, and I will not repeat that. I will simply call everybody's attention to what is in the regular session agenda packet, begins on page 39 of page 49. That is the wonky comptroller mandated specific format for submission of the budget. It's quite different than all the documents that we have been using for conversation. The conversation documents were in the work session packet and available on the city's website, spreadsheets and Q&A and memos from directors. That all boils down to this very formal construct of the budget. And I want to point out two things specifically about that. As we highlighted in the work session, because this is a reappraisal year, we're not talking about tax rates. The tax rate conversation allows us to focus on a conversation about whether we're raising or not raising taxes very succinctly. We can't have that conversation about tax rates, so there's more indirect ways to telegraph a potential tax increase. And there are two places in this document that do just that. The second page of the document, which on your agenda packet is page 40 of 49. At the top right, it says local taxes budget FY26. Baked into that number is a 5% increase in property tax revenue. That would be very obvious if we were talking about property taxes as a rate, but we're talking about raw revenues. And so that $8,239,080 number reflects a 5% increase in property tax revenue. And I just want to be explicit about that. There's a second part of this document that also messages that, and it's on the last page of the document, which is page 44 of 49 in the packet of materials for this commission meeting. It's section 8 of the document. And this is canned language from the comptroller. We could either say we were going to remain revenue neutral or we were telegraphing a tax increase. And so what we have chosen to say is the following. The governing body does intend to exceed the certified tax rate in order to capture the projected increase in revenues from property taxes. So that's a very wonky and indirect way of saying we're baked into this a property tax increase. And in the work session conversation, the magnitude of that is 5%. And that reflects the two previous years of inflation at 3% and 2%. So it's a catch-up, if you will, based on inflation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Granum. First, let's open the public hearing. Mr. Granum?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for public comments. Please observe the rules. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but in a public meeting, typically there is more time allowed. Comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner, the city staff, or the audience. The commission is here to listen, not necessarily to respond in back and forth, but some of that may happen in a public meeting. At this time, citizens are invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
All right, if we have no citizen comments, we will now close this public hearing and move on to our next step. Do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion from Commissioner Hayes Wilkinson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Commissioner Holmes. And now we can have fuller discussion. I will just really quickly, before we get started, just as clarification, the dollar amount that you were talking about, Mr. Graham, associated with that 5% is an estimate because we don't actually know what our certified tax rate is going to be yet. Or maybe Ms. Pickle, even could you speak to that a little bit more?
I can speak to it. So the conversation isn't around a tax rate.
Yes.
The conversation is around anticipated revenue in dollars. So the property tax line in the budget spreadsheet, which is different than the wonky comptroller's formatted, allows us to specifically talk about the property tax as a component of local taxes. And so in the formatted, it's rolled up into embedded in that $8 million number is several aspects of local taxes. In the spreadsheet, we can call out the property tax discretely. And the property tax number was $5,250,000 in the previous version of the budget estimate. The property tax number now, and Chris, can you help me out with the actual number?
Yes, it's $5,512,500.
$5,512,000 and
$500.
$500. That is a 5% increase. So the difference there, it's about $262,000 is the actual magnitude.
Yeah.
It's about $262,000, and that is a 5% increase in the property tax revenue projection line. So fast forward a couple of months, and we will get the certified tax rate from the comptroller, and then we will discern what level of tax is required to achieve that $8 million in revenue. And that's a number that we don't know yet. So we're just talking about dollars and not tax rates.
Right. The tax rate stays at our current rate until we get that certified tax rate back from the state.
Well, actually, we're silent on the tax rate. It's section 8.
It's in the ordinance.
No.
That was a mistake.
Oh, it was. Okay.
The section 8 that I read that statement, typically that section 8 is actually where we put
That would where,
what
okay.
the tax rate would be.
I see.
And in previous budgets, it was $1.67.
Okay.
And rather than putting a number that was an estimate or continuation of the current number, the comptroller's advice is to be silent.
Okay.
And so further, they want us to simply in language say, are you going to raise taxes or not?
Okay. I understand.
And the actual text is lifted from the comptroller's budget manual in the case of, yes, we are going to raise taxes.
Okay. Thank you. For clarifying some of that and providing some additional context. I will open it up for discussion. Any other questions from my fellow commissioners?
Yeah, we're sort of framing this revenue increase around inflation. Do we have a sense of what other municipalities in the area are doing? Are they doing something similar?
I do not have a sense, and each municipality really is on their own journey with respect to right-sizing their expenditures with their revenues. And in conversation with some of my colleagues, they're mid-flight. They have done tax increases and they recognize they need to do future tax increases. Whether they take this reappraisal year as an opportunity to do that or not, I don't know.
Thank you.
May I?
Vice Mayor?
I do believe we are a little bit ahead of schedule of our other counterparts because we are doing the budget process a little earlier than we did in previous years. And to that token, I'm expecting that we are further along in this process than our colleagues in some cases.
Yes.
I think that's true. And with respect to the comptroller, they just want to know, are we going to raise taxes or are we going to adhere to the revenue neutral number that they will be issuing in the coming months? And so they're really not asking us for the magnitude of increase as much as they are asking us our intent. And then they'll deduce by doing the math on the revenues, how much we've raised our taxes, and I can help everybody out, it's 5% of property taxes.
May I ask?
Ms. Perry?
It's not actually that they're going to deduce it. We have to tell them if we intend and how we came to that intention. So that's why we put in there to capture that additional revenue that we are anticipating. We don't want to just say, this is what we expected, but we want to get some more, don't know how much more, so we'll just figure it out later. We decided that we wanted to increase it by 5% to cover some of the things that have come about over the last couple of years. And so that's why we had to phrase it that way.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have any other comments, Commissioner, or questions
No.
this time?
Not right now.
Vice Mayor?
We keep on throwing around this term revenue neutral, and that's what the certified tax rate will provide for us. If we accept that rate from the state, we will be revenue neutral. The decision set before this commission is whether we will remain revenue neutral or service neutral, because inflation is a reality. And so if we do remain revenue neutral, that means that our services are decreasing, and it's up to us what services decrease, whether that's the quality of our, compensation to our employees, whether that's our long-term investments in our infrastructure. So I just want to put that at the front of this discussion. Are we remaining revenue neutral or service neutral? Because if we want to remain service neutral and continue providing the services that we're providing today at a level of excellence, then that requires some modest additional revenue.
Thank you.
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Holmes, go ahead.
So the 262, I wrote it down, but I moved it. The 262 is the general fund, and it adds this to it to keep from going into the fund balance.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that it? Is that your
Yeah, I'll
question?
come back.
Okay. I just didn't want to intrude on you. I was going to ask I guess if we, for some reason, if we got our certified tax rate back later on and we wanted to renegotiate that percentage that we already communicated to the comptroller's office, are we allowed to do that?
It is up to the legislative body to establish a tax rate, and that's clear in all the tax codes. In fact, even when the comptroller issues the revenue neutral certified tax rate, the local commission has to adopt that. So they have to take action, and if it's always up to the commission if they want to amend the budget. So that's always within your purview to do that.
Okay.
We're not stating a rate.
Sure.
We're just stating
The intent is to exceed that.
we want to get this many more dollars. When they tell us what that new rate's gonna be, we'll have to figure out from there how much of an increase it's gonna take to get us to that number.
For that 5% or so. Okay.
We're calculating 5%.
Right.
There's actually more of a real world reality, and that is when the assessor issues the tax bills. It has to be resolved by then, otherwise it's just practically speaking not possible to collect at a different rate. And that's, I think, in late September, early October is when those notices go out, and so it has to be resolved by then. The reappraisal process will not push us that late in the fall. So we will have plenty of time to, as a commission, take a look at what the revenue neutral number is proposed to be and make any decision that the commission wants to at that time.
Sure.
Well in advance of the reality of the assessor of property issuing the tax notices.
Thank you. I'll just make a note that in case you guys don't recall, but in the past, my wonderful husband, who has an accounting degree, put together a little spreadsheet calculator where you could plug in your assessed value and like your current tax rate and then like a new proposed tax rate, and it would show you what the difference is. And so I was playing around with that, and, you know, our assessed value went up 54% this year, went up 50% in 2021, even though we haven't done anything to our home. But anyway, that's another conversation. But we, you know, looking at that increase, that 54% increase, that new assessed value, around, if it was, you know, just estimating what that potential tax rate could be, $1.05 or $1.10 or whatever, it was going to increase our monthly taxes like $3 or $4 per month. So we would just have to set aside an additional for that 5%. So that's not, you know, applicable to everyone, obviously, but that just kind of hopefully gives everyone a frame of reference for what that 5% could look like. I'll also say that that's literally what our the folks who are kind of against taxes, no matter what, have always consistently said, please, if you're going to do it, you know, do it smaller, do it more incremental. And that's literally what we're talking about doing. So I don't know how there would be any kind of, you know, pushback on that. It doesn't really make sense to me because, you know, it just kind of seems like when you are trying to have that conversation, then the goalpost gets moved. Oh no, it needs to be half of that. No, half of that. And it's like, well, that we're already compromising, and compromise means that we're both coming to the table and not getting exactly what we want. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this. You know, it would be great to be able to have a, you know, zero use of fund balance, but we're just not there yet. And we will, through all of the ways that you talked about, Mr. Brandon, we will get there. Does anyone else have any comments, Commissioner Holmes?
So the 5%, could it be more or less when it all washes out? Or we're just looking at 5% no matter what? If that's the case, to fill in the baked in part.
I think that's what I was asking before, and
Oh.
Mr. Grannon was basically saying we can set the tax rate at whatever we want. We have the authority to do that.
Yes, and it's important to know, and I alluded to this in the difference between the median and the average. So for purposes of establishing citywide revenues, we're talking about 5%. But the median increase in assessed value was 59.05%. That means half of the homes had a greater increase in assessed value. So if you're owning one of those parcels, your tax increase will be greater than 5%. And half of the homeowners, parcel owners, are less than 59.05% increase. And so their tax increase would be something less than 5%. So the actual increase at any particular parcel is a function of how their assessed value has changed vis-a-vis the median assessed value.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gets really wonky. You can get a PhD in property taxes and still just scratch the surface. And, you know, we're trying to run a city based on these very, very complicated things that are established at the state level and then play out here locally. The basis of what we did the 5% calculation on was in fact a revenue estimate. So there's a little bit of squishiness in the beginning of the conversation. The beginning of the conversation was a projection of $5,250,000 in property tax revenue, and that's an estimate. So then we took that estimate, and that estimate's pretty solid. It passes muster with the CFO and the comptroller, so that's a very good estimate, but it's important to remind ourselves that that's not empirically collected revenue, that's an estimate. And then we took that estimate and added 5% to it, so that's the extra $263,000-ish. That gets us up to that about $5.5 million in the property tax line, and it gets us up to that $8 million in the local tax line that's baked into the ordinance itself. CFO Pickle, how am I doing? Okay, I'm getting a nod from the CFO. Hopefully that begins to explain it. So it's really hard to say that the 5% is gonna translate into a guaranteed number because it's an estimate to start with. And then an overall number that really breaks down at the individual parcel analysis. If you go home and you get a tax bill in the fall and you run the math and you go, oh my God, my taxes went up 6.5%. Well, that happened to you based on how your property assessed value went up vis-a-vis the median number. But some people, half the people will get a little better than 5%. So it's a complicated thing, and those macro numbers across the jurisdiction don't apply to any particular parcel.
And that does, just to clarify, that does include the commercial parcels that we have
Yes, ma'am.
in Red Bank as well.
Residential and commercial. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments? Vice-Mayor?
To add one more anecdote, my property, for whatever reason, did not assess up even 50%. It's well below the median at 59.05. I think it's probably closer to 30 or 40%. I didn't calculate it exactly, but what that means is if our tax rate goes up only 5%, I can still, my personal tax bill will probably, I'll be one of those who will probably see a decrease in my total tax bill because my property will be assessed more than 5% below the median, and then with the 5% increase won't make it up. So yeah, to your point, city manager, our individual tax bills are just that, individual, but we do try to think about the average citizen and how it will impact that person as much as possible. To the extent we're able to.
And we are proposing to match tax relief for our neediest residents, which is not being done by any other municipality, as we've talked about in Hamilton County yet. Hopefully this will encourage others to join us. So that should help offset, that 5% or whatever we come to later on this year. Increase for those residents. And they don't get that, as you said, Ms. Pickle, that revenue, we don't lose revenue. Well, it's not an expenditure. They just keep those revenues and then reimburse them directly to the qualified applicant.
Right, it's uncollected revenues.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mayor,
Oh, Commissioner.
so we can amend as the state sends us further information.
Yes, it will be a separate ordinance for the tax rate specifically, outside of the budget. Whenever, we put the verbiage in that we intend to exceed or not exceed, specifically exceed the tax rate, the certified tax rate. We also have to include the verbiage in and incorporate the revenue increase. So those things go hand in hand. And again, it's an estimate. So we're just pushing forward now to pass the budget with that estimate and then anticipate a more concrete number after we get the certified tax rate back. And that will be a separate conversation. So we'll have more conversations about the tax rate, and it will be on a separate ordinance by itself.
And there's public hearing with that, and then 2 readings of that ordinance, just like any other ordinance. Okay.
Mayor, may I add a little bit to that? Thank you, Mayor. The commission, as I mentioned earlier, is totally in the driver's seat with respect to adopting the tax rate and establishing the budget, and you can always amend it over time. And really, from the standpoint of the budget and submitting it to the comptroller, it's so that they can assess us, are we operating with sound financial principles? And is our budget structurally balanced? Do we have the money available to meet the expenditures that we have forecasted? And the answer to that is yes. And it will be yes, because we have a very healthy fund balance. So we could make a decision later on to change some of these, decrease expenditures or decrease revenues. And we would still pass muster with the comptroller in this fiscal year because we are in a very strong position financially. So that really gives the commission a lot of latitude in a particular year to make a decision at the budget time or throughout the budget year. And that is because, again, we're in a very healthy financial position. The ending fund balance projected currently is 8 million, tick over 8 million. It's $8,028,499. So that really puts the commission in a very strong position to make good decisions at budget season and then throughout the fiscal year.
Thank you.
Did that answer your
I think it
question?
does. And I would appreciate, and I'll make a note in my calendar somewhere, that we do revisit that. And it's the more or less the timing of us creating a budget, but then the state coming along and then the assessment as well for us to then be more solid in these funds.
Yes, ma'am. The story that Tax Assessor Marty Hayes and his staff tell us, this really started in March for them, and they got 15,000 inquiries from the county generally. And what tossed a phone conversation level of effort from his staff perspective boiled down to 7,300 discrete cases where they had to have more than a conversation. That boiled down to currently 500 requests to revisit the assessed value that requires significantly more effort on the part of his staff, whether it's a site visit or some sort of a hearing. And that's where we're at right now. He's working through that last 500, and his requirement is to submit everything. His goal is in June. So in June, the comptroller will have what they need from the Hamilton County Assessor of Property. And then the comptroller has to do their part, which is that Office of State Assessed Properties. And then through the State Board of Equalization is the final process at the comptroller level. And then coming out of that from the comptroller is the certified tax rate, which is revenue neutral. And Mayor, you pointed out that, or Vice Mayor, revenue neutral. Well, from a state perspective, when you go to Food City and buy groceries, you're paying more in state tax every time you visit the store, because their state tax is indexed to the market. That's the nature of sales tax. So the state doesn't have to come back to the voters every 4 years and have a conversation about how much revenue they're going to collect. It just naturally rises with the change in prices everywhere. So that's the nature of the sales tax that the state is heavily dependent upon. About 60% of Tennessee state revenues come from sales tax, and that's just indexed automatically. Local government, counties and municipalities, are very beholden to property tax. And the rules around property tax are very focused on being revenue neutral, which is not indexed to inflation. And so every 4 years, we have to have this conversation about, is revenue neutral enough? Well, if you go back through the days and decades, obviously revenue neutral is nowhere near enough over time. And so that's why we, as staff, recommended an index-based and inflation-based property tax increase in revenues. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Branham. Any other discussion at this point?
I'll add
Vice
one
Mayor?
more thought. You say inflation-based increase, and as you say, there's many ways to slice and dice inflation. And we've talked about how we have actually not been meeting inflation. I think 3 years ago it was 8.2, we did 7.0, then it was 3.2, and we did 3.0, and now it's 2.5, and we're doing 2.0. So we're tracking under, like a federal standard for index inflation. So that 5% number that's represented in this projected revenue for this budget is not necessarily all-time inflation, quote unquote, but it's actually realized inflation of the 3% last year and the 2% this year that we did actually pass on to our employees for their cost of living increases. So this is not anybody's hypothetical calculation for what inflation may or may not be according to who. This is 5% is the inflation that we are currently and are proposing to actively be paying out to our employees, which our salaries are our number one expense. And of course, our other expenses also increase besides just salaries. You know, our contracts are going up, our supplies are going up. I think we know our equipment, every time we have to buy another truck, it seems like it's 50% more than it was the last time we bought a truck, or a fire truck or a bulldozer or anything. Yes, police car, anything like that. So, yes, that 5% is very trackable in the outlay of expenditures that we are seeing in our City of Red Bank budgets for the last 2 years.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion at this time? Okay, any comments from the residents present? Okay. There's no more discussion and no comments from the residents present. Ms. Perry, can you please call the vote?
Mayor Dalton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barry,
Yes.
Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Yes.
Motion carries on first reading, and we will have our second and final reading at our next meeting on June 3rd. Moving on to item B, resolution number 25-1795, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, to proclaim May 15, 2025 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and proclaim May 11 through 17, 2025 as National Police Week. Mr. Granum.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Whereas, the members of the law enforcement agency of the City of Red Bank play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of Red Bank and provide a vital public service. And whereas, it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agencies, and that members of our law enforcement agencies recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Red Bank, the Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, call upon all citizens of Red Bank and all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 11 through 17, 2025 as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our citizens may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities and, in so doing, have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and serving the security of all citizens. We further call upon all citizens of Red Bank to observe May 15, 2025 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. Resolved this 20th day of May, 2025. And Mayor, I will apologize for the tardiness of this resolution, but I will add that our Facebook was very timely, and there was a lot of heartfelt response from the community from our Facebook and other community events.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you to our incredible police team. Do I have a motion to approve?
I wasn't.
I have a motion from Commissioner Holmes. Do I have a second? Sorry, I was getting there.
I'll second.
I have a second from Vice Mayor Barry. Any further discussion? Thank you also to Commissioner Holmes' husband, who is a Chattanooga police officer. Very grateful for all of your all's service to our community. Any questions, any comments from the residents present? If there are no comments, let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item C, resolution number 25-1796, a resolution by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, proclaiming May 18 through 24, 2025 as National Public Works Week. Mr. Granum.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm pleased to be a little more timely with this one. Whereas public works professionals play a vital role in maintaining infrastructure, managing emergency response efforts, and delivering essential services that sustain our communities, protect public health, and enhance quality of life in the city of Red Bank, Tennessee. And whereas these critical services depend on the dedication of public works professionals, including laborers, equipment operators, supervisors, and managers, as well as engineers, fleet technicians, and employees across varying skills and abilities. These individuals oversee the operation, maintenance, and improvement of transportation networks, stormwater systems, waste management, public facilities, and other essential infrastructure. And whereas it is in the public interest for residents, civic leaders, and future generations to recognize the importance of public works professionals and their contributions to the community. And whereas the Red Bank Public Works Department is responsible for managing 72 miles of roads and 16 signalized intersections, maintaining over 36 public facilities, including parks, overseeing stormwater infrastructure to manage rainfall and prevent flooding, collecting and processing over 5,700 tons of household waste, brush, and leaves annually, administering capital improvement programs and fleet services for all city departments, leading parks and recreation programs, including the annual Christmas parade and Jubilee celebrations. And whereas 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, highlighting the dedication and contributions of public works professionals nationwide. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, hereby designate the week of May 18 through 24, 2025 as National Public Works Week, urging all citizens to join the Red Bank Board of Commissioners in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, technicians, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Resolved this 20th day of May, 2025.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Granum. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
A motion from Commissioner Wilkinson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Vice Mayor Barry. Any other discussion or comments?
I want to say I've noticed, like when it was raining quite a bit the past few weeks, near my house on Christmas, you can see the water like really moving. And I had noticed that in the past years. And my house does not have water in the basement in the past, since this has been going on, I think. So, thank you.
I think we can personally thank one member of our audience who's here tonight for vacuuming out those ditches
Culverts.
for us. Culverts, thank you. Yes, our stormwater team is small but mighty. As is the rest of our public works department. But yes, very noticeable. Thank you. Any comments from the residents present? If there are no comments, let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item D, resolution number 25-1798, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, to adopt a comprehensive table of assessments, fees, fines, charges, penalties, and rates in compliance with the Red Bank Municipal Code, Title V, Chapter 1, Section 5-105, as established by ordinance number 25-1279.
Yes.
Director Johnson.
I feel the same. This has been a long time coming.
It has been.
As we internally with all the departments have regularly reviewed this and tried to get it to where it needed to be. So this was not a one-person lift. This has been all departments. across the city, paying attention to not only statutory requirements, but making sure that we are looking at it through a cost recovery lens as well. Doing business with the public does cost us money. So some of these fees that you will find in the schedule are reflective of just that. A good example is through our building permit process. We have baked in prices, but on the occasion we do have re-inspection fees. And historically, we've not been recovering our cost associated with sending a staff person back out to do a follow-up inspection. So not to say that everything has gone up, but where it was appropriate or we knew that we needed some cost recovery measures, that was the minimum threshold that we put in. Another example is advertisement costs. Statutory requirements have advertising requirements that we have to meet, and those are not cheap and they're not free. So when we have an applicant that is requesting something that costs us for that advertisement, we are just simply rolling over that fee for that applicant. So again, this makes it very transparent to the public, other agencies as well. We do rely on each other to make sure that we're not overcharging in an arena, that we are in the same plateau as other jurisdictions are charging. So something else we learned in this process is not all jurisdictions, it's not as easy to find. So part of that mission from our city manager is to have all things as transparent as possible. This helps us check that box. Also, as we go along, there's going to be statutory changes. There will be new areas that we did not think of that we needed to have a fee associated with, especially again when it costs the city effort and expenditures. So as we go, if changes happen, it'll come back to you in the form of a resolution. The ordinance you passed earlier this evening establishes exactly this framework for how we go about making those changes.
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
A motion from Vice Mayor Barry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey. Any further discussion?
I had some questions.
Can I ask one question really quick? Will this be accessible, like very easy to find on the website? Like you go to the top and there's a button that says fee schedule and you can click it?
It may not be a button that says fee schedule.
Something that's very, where they don't have to.
Yes, I envision it being
Okay.
linked in multiple places.
Okay.
Simply because if someone's looking just for business.
Sure.
They may not think to come to community development to look at that.
Okay.
So there will be links to this document throughout our website.
Wonderful, Commissioner.
Put in search also.
Oh, yeah.
monthly fee schedule. Thanks for the chart. It's really cool. Couple of questions. In Title IX, what is peddler? What's a peddler? They did it for 14 days.
The best way to explain that is, and we don't see it very often, but you will still have people who will peddle either subscription to services. So you may have someone that comes out and is selling a subscription to a magazine options. You'll see peddlers that come in and are looking to promote roof replacement. It's anyone that's going to solicit and peddle an item for sale to the public.
Okay, that was different than what I thought. In title, I've got 3 questions here. That was the first. In the Title 17, refuse, does that apply to mattresses being picked up? Okay. Yes. And I've been asked by a resident that there's been a particular area where there would be stacked up mattresses. Now, and this is my ignorance, but with that stack of mattresses and you take that to wherever, does that cost us or do we get money for
We pay a flat rate per ton for disposal,
per ton?
per ton. And currently, I think that rate for bulk trash is, I think it's $20 per ton. And that's just in our contract with the disposal service company. It's a transfer station, and they just charge us a flat rate of $20 per ton. Now, there's nothing in the ordinance that says that you can't put out 20 mattresses. And that particular parcel that you're referring to, they pay solid waste fees.
Thank you. That was my next question. Do they pay for
They do.
us to go
And
get that?
the ordinance also has limits on there on the number of times that we
Yes.
limit them on pickup. And that parcel owner is very aware of that.
Okay.
And might I add that is another mechanism of iWorks, our citizens portal. When we have requests that comes in, it helps us to better manage and keep a finger on those pulse for those bulk pickups. So
Okay.
again, it comes with the services for the city, but occasionally we'll have someone that we do need to have a conversation with. It becomes a little
Because
excessive.
they do pay into the fee. Okay, lastly, are there any fees to organize a protest in the public square? To my knowledge, there have been 2 protests, and I didn't know if there were permits needed or there was a fee to pay, or, nope, you just gather. First Amendment right.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Now,
That's it.
I will add on to that. If they are requesting to utilize a facility, then that is an application process. But as you described, on a sidewalk in a public space, yes, that is, those are protected rights.
There we go. Okay. Because it had been asked of me
Sure.
if there was a permit to participate.
I think if you were gonna be, if you wanted to have like a rally or something and you wanted to occupy a street, you would have
Close
to,
the street.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
okay.
would have to get
Like
a
a community
permit
center.
or something
Correct.
to that effect.
Utilizing a public facility.
Right. But you can't obstruct traffic.
Makes sense.
And we do get those phone calls, believe it or not, occasionally. People inquire.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments,
I have a question.
Commissioner?
Is there an estimation of I don't know if it's called revenue, but increase of funding to cover some of these things, or does that make sense? Like,
Are
how
any,
much is collected to offset some of the costs? Will it help in another area? For things to not cost what they cost?
And again, I think one of the best examples is the publication in our mailing.
Yes.
Through applicants in our planning commission, if we have a rezoning request, although it's not statutorily required, we do establish a radius and we do a mailing, a postcard mailing to those property owners
Right.
in that radius, just for, again, transparency and information. But that comes at a cost.
Right.
So this does help us offset that.
Okay.
Right now, we're covering that expense.
Right.
So moving forward, and this becomes effective July 1, your new budget year, we will offset those added costs to an applicant.
Thanks, that's kind of what I meant. And then White Oak Park, has it always been, the large pavilion, has it always been charged?
Actually, no. So that is a new entity that we are making in. A lot of times when people just want to use the public space, there's no fee required. But when someone truly wants to reserve and have an event, then there is a process we go through for that request as well. Historically, we've not been charging. But again, similar to our community center, if you want to secure the space, there is a minimum fee associated with it.
Because people just normally when I'm there, they just show up and set up, and we would need to know, like, oh, I can't do it that day, so that's why I was wondering if was it new.
And Jeffrey's process is really good to have that information out there. Through his online portal, it shares that information. And I don't envision that being a tremendous uptick, but occasionally we do have people who want to reserve it either for a fundraiser themselves or another special event. Sometimes it could be a reunion. Is another that's going to occupy more designated space, and more so the parking that goes with the large pavilion.
Are there more fees associated with the court and getting those online with Alicia and Ally that have been brought to the chart? Or has this been consistent?
I would say it's consistent. I think historically they've just been in different pockets and locations. This will obviously be the first time it's compiled into one document.
Where does the criminal fine go? Is it ours? Is it Red Bank's?
So, if I could add, Alicia has really put a lot of effort into this, and there are some new charges that we didn't know we could collect. So, one of the goals is the court is upside down. It costs us, I can't remember the budget number, it's around $180,000 to run courts, and we only get like $90,000 in revenues. So we've been working very hard to match the revenues with the expenditure, and so Alicia has worked with MTS and other knowledgeable parties with respect to what is the appropriate fees we should be collecting, and there are some new ones. And there's a good news story. We are going to be able to collect and remit to the Family Justice Center a fee that is tied to a certain subset of the crimes that we prosecute in the court here. It's DUIs and domestic violence and a few other, it's about 2/3 of the overall caseload will be subject to this fee, and we can collect and remit to the Family Justice Center, which is absolutely a good news story that's coming out of this hard look at our fee schedule. To your point, Mayor, how do we get the word out here? Well, there's really three ecosystems that collect a lot of fees. The first one is parks, and so messaging in the parks spaces will be effective. The other one is the building official functionality, permits and inspection fees, and so messaging in those ways will really get the word out. And then lastly is court. And interesting tidbit, the court drives the most traffic to our city website of any other aspect of the city. When you wind up in court, the first thing you want to do is, when is court and how do I dress and, how do I behave? And then go to the website. So that's a very effective tool to get the word out on all of our fees for court. Mayor, may I add one last comment?
Please.
Including a fee schedule is a best practice in local government. And as Leslie alluded to, not other local governments have it. For the city of Red Bank, the development and incorporation of this fee schedule is a major milestone in our pursuit of budget excellence and reflects positively on those who worked so diligently to bring us to this point. As Leslie alluded to, all departments were impacted, but namely, the Community Development Office Manager, Beth Powell, literally created the document you're looking at. Director of Administration and Finance, Tracy Perry, organized this from her perspective. CFO Chris Pickle came on board. We've been chipping away at this for 2 years. This ever preceded Chris's arrival as CFO. City Attorney Arnold Stoltz had a big role. Court Clerk Alicia Donahue, unique amongst the department level leaders, really had to roll up her sleeves. All these court fees are buried in various nooks and crannies of various statutes, and it's really tough to get it all rolled up and do one clean document, and she did yeoman's work. But lastly, and especially, Community Development Director Leslie Johnson, who simply took this project on and did it because it needed to be done. And so thank you all, and thank you especially, Leslie.
Thank you. And I will close with that. This document will actually reside with your finance department because it is revenue driven. So moving forward, after we hopefully pass and get this on books, any future changes will be department or division driven. So for example, if community development through our building official, we determine that change needs to happen, then yes, I would bring that back. Courts, it would obviously be Alicia. Those specific people who drive those ships will be that before you when changes occur.
I have one more question. Pardon me, please, just out of curiosity again. Title A is alcoholic beverages. Are there any fees for the CBD businesses that are quite prolific in our town?
Those don't have statutory requirements as far as permitting and fees go. Those do not. Those reside locally through your zoning regulations.
Okay, all right, thank you.
May I ask one question? Why is the fee for the short-term vacation rental permit for owner occupied significantly higher than non-owner occupied?
I don't have a immediate answer to that.
$150 for owner occupied and $25 for non-owner occupied. Or is there a period out of place? I think there's a period.
Possibly, it could be. I'll have to go
I
back
think
and
it's
double check
supposed to
it.
be
Yes.
$250 actually. It says 25.000. So I
We need to make a motion to amend.
As I was looking at that, I realized was an extra zero. So that seems to make the most amount of sense.
Scrivener's error.
Okay. do we need to, Mr. Stoltz, do anything
Need to.
particular to that?
If you're going to pass the resolution, which is a one vote thing,
Yes.
you would move to pass the resolution with the typographical error corrected. That
Okay.
was noted.
Okay.
And I've made a note of that.
All right. So do I need a new motion? Or,
I think
Yes.
so.
okay.
Yeah.
Can I have, do I have a motion to approve with the typographical error correction under short-term vacation rental permits for non-owner occupied
So
applicants?
I make
Okay.
one.
I have a motion from Commissioner Holmes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Vice Mayor Barry.
Thank you, Mayor. for
All
your
right.
eye.
I didn't get that English degree for nothing. My parents would, say otherwise. Okay, do we have any further discussion or questions? If not, do we have any comments from the residents present? If not, let's call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I know that was a labor, maybe not of love, but a labor.
labor of labor.
Okay, final item is citizen comments from Red Bank citizens on items not on the agenda. Mr. Granum.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments. Please observe these rules. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and the city recorder will operate a timer visible on the dais. Please respect her direction and conclude any comments as time expires. The comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner, the city staff, or the audience. The commission is here to listen, not to respond or engage in back and forth, so please do not expect a reply during citizen comment. At this time, citizens are invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
Okay, there are no comments. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Holmes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
I just noticed your sweater is ready for pool opening weekend this weekend.
I don't know
Yep.
when I'm going, but
I was gonna say, do